threatening tariffs on Mexico and Canada on Tuesday, President Trump reversed them on Thursday. It's a cunning political tactic experts call bipolar disorder. President Trump said the tariff on goods from Canada is to stop the flow of fentanyl, even though last year only 40 pounds of the drug was seized at the northern border. 40 pounds? What's that, like 2 buttfuls?
The new one is, President Trump has ceded the presidency to Elon Musk. No, that's not happening. But Elon's done an amazing job. Isn't it nice to have smart people that we can rely on? No.
And imagine this. 2 billionaires, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, scrolling through X late at night, expecting adoration, but instead getting roasted into oblivion. Their names are trending, but not for their business empires or flashy tech. No, this time, they're the punchlines of the world's most savage jokes. Trump's face turned redder than a stop sign. Elon probably looked up at the sky, wondering if he could hop on the next SpaceX rocket just to escape the memes. Comedians went all in, no filter, no chill, just pure digital carnage. And let's be clear, these guys didn't laugh it off like good sports. Nah. What followed was a masterclass in billionaire ego meltdowns. PR teams panicking, fans confused, and timelines flooded with tantrums. You want to know how bad it got? Let's just say this wasn't just a roast. It was a full-blown internet firestorm that made their previous PR disasters look like minor wardrobe malfunctions.
Constantly seek criticism. A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends.
Trump addressed a joint session of Congress and claimed that no president has changed government faster than him. Yeah, and nobody changed airport security faster than bin Laden. President Trump also said that he signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. But if men aren't allowed to play women's sports, explain soccer.
But before we get into it, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss this digital beatdown. We're talking about Trump and Elon, 2 of the richest men alive, guys who could literally buy silence if they wanted to. But somehow, they still ended up getting dragged like a dented suitcase through X's most savage comment threads. You'd think with all those billions, they'd have some emotional armor. Nope. Turns out their egos are wrapped in tissue paper and spritzed with designer cologne. All it took was a couple of comedians, a stable internet connection, and a sharp sense of humor, and suddenly, these titans of tech and politics were flailing like toddlers who just got their first taste of sarcasm. It wasn't just funny. It was historic. And the internet? Oh, it was thriving on the chaos.
CEO and white Kanye, Elon Musk, wore a suit instead of a jacket and t-shirt to this week's cabinet meeting after President Trump made fun of his clothing. It's a refreshing reminder that bullying still works.
And Trump took the hits with the grace of a rhinoceros trying to tiptoe in stilettos. Within hours, his beloved Truth Social turned into a digital meltdown zone, flooded with rage posts, all-caps fury, and Diet Coke-fueled delusion. Classic Trump. First, deny the jokes happened. Then, pretend they weren't funny. And finally, out of nowhere, launch into a rant about wind turbines or Hillary's emails, because why not? The man didn't just become the punchline, he confirmed it. It was one of those moments where reality outperforms parody. The harder he tried to control the narrative, the deeper he dug himself into the roast. By the time he screamed "witch hunt," the internet had already screen-capped, memed, and moved on, laughing all the way.
Because now it feels like Elon Musk is just like scrambling, making it up as he goes along, which I get. You've spent $44 billion for a company that most people say shouldn't be more than worth like 20-something billion. You're gonna scramble, you know? And he's trying everything. What's amazing to me is like what's happening with Elon Musk is a wonderful microcosm to show you how much or how quickly people will abandon what they say is a principle when things aren't going their way. you know? So one of the first things Elon said when he took over was like, comedy is now legal on Twitter. And he was like, it's time for free speech, time for comedy, time for people to actually have fun on Twitter again. And then what people started doing was they started changing their names to Elon Musk.
And then there's Elon. Oh, sweet, self-declared genius Elon. The man who dropped $44 billion just to rebrand Twitter into the letter X, like some edgy startup that forgot vowels were a thing. He didn't just get roasted, he got incinerated. From his painfully awkward dad jokes aimed at crypto bros to the ever-flopping Cybertruck that looks like it was designed in Minecraft, comedians had a field day. But the real kicker? One stand-up had the audacity to suggest that maybe, just maybe, launching rockets doesn't automatically make you a philosopher king. And Elon? He took that bait so fast you'd think it was a Dogecoin giveaway. This wasn't just a hit to the ego, it was a full-blown combustion. The man who wants to colonize Mars couldn't even handle a comedy set without spiraling into reply guy mode.
The whitest foreigner I've ever met.
He is.
This is my love goes out to you. I'm sorry, I'm autistic. I'm autistic. I didn't know what this is. So much for my show at the kids' school.
And what was Elon's big comeback? A meme. That's right, a painfully unfunny, totally out of context meme. Because when reason fails, just spam your timeline and hope the fanboys swarm in to defend your honor. Classic billionaire panic mode. But what really makes this whole saga golden is the irony. These guys are supposed to be visionaries. Industry titans. Leaders of the so-called future. Yet here they are, melting down in real time over jokes about their haircuts and their social media takes. One moment, they're speaking at global tech summits. The next, they're throwing online tantrums that wouldn't be out of place in a high school group chat. Less captains of capitalism, more middle school drama club with private jets. If this is the future, we might need a reboot.
Blair, I want you to roast mercilessly Elon Musk.
Elon, you're like a self-driving Tesla. Obscenely expensive, prone to crashing, and perpetually promising features that never quite materialize. You tweet about colonizing Mars while simultaneously struggling to manage a social media platform. You call yourself a free speech absolutist, but ban critics faster than a Tesla accelerates from 0 to 60. You claim to be a champion of innovation, yet your most notable achievements involve rebranding existing technologies and making questionable business decisions.
And let's not forget the real tragedy here. Well, tragedy for them. The comedians? They weren't even trying that hard. These were light jabs. Soft burns. The kind of jokes you'd hear at a dive bar open mic after 2 whiskey sours and a lukewarm chicken wing. But to men who bathe in applause and have fan armies trained to cheer at every bad pun and awkward pause, mockery isn't humor, it's betrayal. And public ridicule? That's Ward S.O. What happens when 2 of the richest men in modern history get metaphorically pantsed by comedians earning drink tickets and maybe an Uber voucher? Simple. You laugh. Because what this whole circus proved is that money can buy a lot. Rockets, real estate, re-election campaigns, but it can't buy self-awareness, chill, or a functioning sense of humor. This wasn't just a roast, it was a cautionary tale. A reminder that when your identity is built entirely on ego, all it takes is one solid punchline to pop it like a MAGA balloon at a pride parade. Trump and Musk strutted onto social media like they own the place. And in fairness, one of them actually did. The other just acted like he paid rent in everyone's head. But what happens when 2 men that allergic to criticism take a few well-aimed hits? They don't laugh. They implode. Like off-brand space rockets and rejected reality show pilots.
After President Trump spent last week defending our historical best friend, Russia, Trump turned this week to attacking our sworn enemy, Canada. That's right, those syrup-guzzling, poutine-munching, moose-humping hockey sluts have taken advantage of us far too long. It
all started on X, formerly known as Twitter, and now basically Elon Musk's digital jungle gym for emotionally fragile billionaires. A few comedians, clearly unaware of the unspoken rule that you're supposed to grovel in the presence of wealth, did the unthinkable. They made fun of Elon and Trump. Now, Trump and Musk could have just scrolled past it. Maybe cracked a smile. Maybe, just once, demonstrated the thick skin they've both claimed to have. But no, that would require maturity, something neither man has successfully downloaded into their system, despite decades of pretending to be grown-ups. Let's start with Trump. Picture this, doom scrolling in his gold-plated bathroom, one hand gripping a Diet Coke, the other angrily jabbing at his phone screen as he fires off another barely coherent rant on Truth Social. What set him off this time? A simple stand-up bit poking fun at his spray tan, his hand gestures, and his uncanny ability to sound like he's ordering food in a language he doesn't speak. Of course, in Trump world, no joke is too small to qualify as a national emergency. He lost his mind. And in classic Trump style, he responded with a caps-locked novella declaring the comedian a washed-up nobody. Because when you're truly not bothered, you always make sure to write a 300-word tantrum explaining why. Bonus points if it includes sad, loser, and the phrase "I don't even know who that is," which always somehow means I've watched every video they've ever made. Over at Tesla HQ, or as we're calling it today, Spiral Central, Elon was having a meltdown of his own. Someone had joked that the Cybertruck looks like something a toddler sketched with a ruler and no parental supervision. And Elon, our so-called free speech crusader, suddenly decided that making fun of him was the one thing comedy shouldn't be allowed to do. The man who once said, comedy should be legal, was now seriously considering how to code sarcasm out of the algorithm. And in true Musk fashion, he tried to strike back in the most cringe way possible. He posted an outdated GIF from 5 years ago that nobody remembers, captioned with some cryptic tech bro jargon, probably hoping it would go viral. It didn't. But it did scream, "I'm not mad, I swear," which of course means he was very mad. You can almost picture the late-night meeting that followed. Engineers half asleep, being forced to find a way to shadow ban the phrase hair transplant. But here's the thing, comedy is always punched up. Kings, queens, emperors, popes, they all got roasted. That's what comedians do. But Trump and Elon? They think they're exempt. Above it. Floating in some godlike space between victimhood and omnipotence. Until someone with a microphone and a punchline crashes the delusion and reminds them, you're not special. You're just loud. And man, do they hate that. Trump's entire persona depends on the illusion that he's the alpha in every room. The richest, the smartest, the handsomest, the most powerful, even as reality keeps showing up with a receipt book and a sense of humor. Every time Trump gets roasted, it punctures the carefully maintained illusion that he's untouchable, and he simply cannot handle it. It's like watching someone try to sue a mirror for being honest. So what does he do? He doubles down, then triples down. Suddenly, late-night comedians aren't just making jokes. They're attacking the country. Satire becomes fake news. And somehow, stand-up comics with 2-drink minimum paychecks become enemies of the state. Because nothing screams freedom-loving patriot like trying to regulate punchlines. Elon, on the other hand, doesn't rage, he weirds out. He tries to judo flip the roast by leaning into the strangeness, throwing out bizarre, half-joking replies like some sort of sentient Reddit thread. He thinks it makes him look cool.
Chill.
Unbothered. It doesn't. It makes him look like a tech CEO LARPing as a Discord mod. One minute he's tweeting comedy is essential, and the next he's posting something like laughter module version 2.7 malfunctioning, rebooting cringe interface, like it's a glitch in his personality firmware. Spoiler alert, he didn't win. Because the internet isn't impressed by billionaire meltdowns, it's energized by them. Every time Trump or Elon takes the bait, it sparks a fresh wave of memes, roasts, and parodies. Trying to put out a fire by tweeting into it is like throwing gasoline on a house made of dry sarcasm. And the comedians? They double down, too. They know the rules of the internet better than any algorithm Elon's overworked engineers can code. They know the golden law of comedy. The more powerful the subject, the harder the fall, and the funnier the punch. Watching these two spiral isn't just comedy. It's a masterclass. It's not punching up. It's uppercutting a skyscraper and watching it collapse into its own ego. But here's the kicker. These guys brand themselves as culture war kings. Trump talks about slaying the woke mob. Elon says he's defending free speech. And yet the moment someone claps back with a halfway decent roast, they both melt like butter in a hot take factory.
Excuse me, Kevin, I'm here with Kevin, Keenan, and we have Kamala, the KKK, great people, 3Ks. They're great people, we love them a lot. The 3Ks, they're my favorite Ks. But I will tell you that if anybody knows if this was at Mar-a-Lago, I would have won so big and so fast. It's not even fair. Thank you very much. Let's see if Peacock will air that one.
I don't know who that is.
And yet, when comedians dare to punch back, it's like someone kicked their golden retrievers and insulted their favorite yachts. Suddenly, these warriors for truth are acting like delicate influencers with shattered egos and unlimited data plans. It's not courage, it's cringe in designer suits. Let's talk hypocrisy. Elon Musk, the same guy who swore Twitter, now X, would be a beacon of free speech, is out here personally micromanaging which jokes get traction. The moment the jokes are about him, suddenly the algorithm gets weird and sarcasm mysteriously vanishes from trending topics. It's like watching a dictator try to outlaw snark. Meanwhile, Trump, who's made a career out of calling everyone from Rosie O'Donnell to world leaders every insult in the book, now cries foul when someone suggests his spray 10 looks like expired Velveeta. The irony? It's not just rich. It's tax-sheltered in the Cayman Islands. These two have built empires on trolling, on mockery, on loudness. But when the spotlight flips, when they become the punchline, it's like their entire identity short-circuits. Their sense of humor has the structural integrity of a wet tissue. They want to be roasted like legends but crumble like overcooked soufflés and don't expect their followers to help. Trump's fans morph into medieval jesters defending their king, screaming fake news, while sobbing into red hats. Elon's tech bros? They go full defense mode. Actually, that's not a joke. That's innovation, as if a meme about the Cybertruck is going to tank Tesla's stock price. But here's the truth. If your whole legacy collapses over a roast, maybe it wasn't that strong to begin with. If your brand falls apart because someone joked about your latest overpriced gadget or a shady business deal, maybe the real joke wasn't the punchline. It was the persona.
I feel like Trump would be exactly the same even if he spoke Arabic. It would be like the same thing. He'd be like,
Trump and Elon present themselves like gods among mortals. Trump in his red tie, inflated ego, and alpha male bravado. Elon tweeting from his rocket-powered ivory tower with Wi-Fi that runs on cryptic memes and fragile pride. But here's the thing. The more they react, the funnier it gets. Every flinch, every meltdown, every desperate attempt to clap back only multiplies their ridicule. They've become walking memes, and not the cool, iconic kind. They're the kind of memes that make you laugh, cringe, and question your timeline all at once. They call themselves disruptors, mavericks, visionaries. But at this point, they're just icons of self-inflicted embarrassment. They strut around like they're made of titanium-coated confidence, immune to the mockery of the masses. Like they wrestle lions before breakfast and solve world peace between espresso shots. But the moment someone with a halfway clever tweet points out the emperor has no clothes, boom, instant meltdown. Trump, the so-called alpha, spirals into all-caps rants on Truth Social because someone suggested his tan has more tones than his tax returns. He acts like he's just returned from war because a stand-up comic said he sounds like a drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. And Elon? One snide comment about his Cybertruck looking like a PlayStation 1 render, and he's tweeting like his soul got hacked. The irony isn't just delicious, it's practically gold-plated and delivered on a private jet. These men wanted to be the symbols of strength in a chaotic world. Instead, they've become a cautionary tale. A reminder that if your ego is that fragile, maybe you shouldn't be the face of a culture war, or a car company, or a country.
I have not had an in-person interview with the former president. If I did, I would ask him.
What would you ask? Look at this smirk. What are you going to ask?
Did you know they were going to storm the Capitol, and does that make you a party to an insurrection?
Excuse me. What? You see what he's doing? Do all these people watching, and what you're doing, it's so disgusting, and you know that, because there was no storming. There was no storming. Okay, a lot of people were saying we're going to send him home like a dog. We're going to send him home back to China, and that's what they did. So.
This is the same guy who bragged about staring down dictators, but he can't even face a Twitter thread without threatening lawsuits and screaming about election interference. No, seriously. The man who once sat smugly in a leather chair firing contestants on The Apprentice now acts like he's the one who got cut every time the internet doesn't kiss his ring. It's not presidential, it's petty. And it's happening in real time, one all-caps tantrum at a time. And then there's Elon, the self-proclaimed Tony Stark of Earth. The visionary, the innovator, the man who sees himself as the bridge between humanity and Mars, who collapses like a wet graham cracker the moment someone makes a snarky comment about his management skills or, God forbid, the Cybertruck. His idea of visionary leadership? Buying an entire social media platform just to silence critics, then calling it a free speech haven while blocking anyone with good comedic timing. He spends more time replying to roast tweets than improving battery range or, I don't know, solving the small issue of Tesla's spontaneously combusting. It's like watching a Bond villain waste all his time arguing with stand-up comics instead of, actually executing an evil plan. And here's the comedy gold. These men desperately want to be seen as history-shaping titans. Trump wants to go down as the savior of America. Elon wants to go off the planet altogether and colonize Mars. But both of them crumble in the face of a 240-character joke from a comedian in thrift store sneakers performing for a crowd of 10 people and a bartender who's only half listening because the ice machine's too loud. That's the ultimate irony. These guys have changed industries, tilted the axis of modern politics. And yet, the one force neither of them can conquer? A punchline.
What's up, Elon?
What's up, Holmes?
What's up, brother?
Yeah.
What's up?
All right, cool. I'd like to ask you a few questions. So are you a man or an ass man? Yeah, really curious.
How are you so retarded but so smart at the same time?
No idea.
Dude, I don't know. I'm an ass guy until the babubas get too big.
I like like on Earth, right? Like I'm an ass man, right? But like in space, like I like space boobs.
And here's their Achilles heel. Internet comedians. Guys with ring lights, $40 microphones, and Twitter blue check marks they only got because Elon handed them out like candy on Halloween. For all their billions, for all their bluster, Trump and Elon are just two extremely online dudes who cannot handle being laughed at. Not by the press. Not by SNL. And certainly not by some 29-year-old comic live streaming from their Brooklyn apartment with a dog barking in the background, because it's one thing to build rockets or run for office. It's another thing entirely to survive a roast with your ego intact. And these two? They didn't just lose the thread. They grabbed it, yanked it, unraveled the entire sweater, then blamed the knitters. Every time they rage post, every time they spiral over a joke, they remind the world that their armor is made of tinfoil and paper-thin pride. And every time they try to clap back, 1,000 new punchlines bloom like wildflowers on a hill of hubris. That's the thing about comedy. It doesn't care how rich you are, how many followers you've bought, or how many platforms you own. If you can't take a joke, the joke becomes you. The next time these guys melt down over a late-night monologue or cry about the woke mob coming for them with sarcasm and a ring light, just remember, comedy doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait for approval. It's a mirror. And nothing exposes power like a punchline. Somewhere right now, a comedian is writing their next set, and you already know the punchline's coming for Trump and Elon again. And again. And again. Because in the end, comedy is still free.